Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of Movie Minds. It is a movie discussion podcast. I am Joe.
I'm Brad.
I'm Brandon.
Yes, we are three teachers that got together and decided, hey, we want to talk about movies because we all like movies for different reasons and want to offer our different perspectives. This one, we're going to be talking about the slasher film Halloween from 1978, directed by John Carpenter, one of my favorite directors. And I believe it kind of fits for the Halloween theme, but the pick for this month was Brad. So tell us why you brought it to us this month, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So I thought, it came right to mind. Actually, I was talking to a coworker of ours, and she mentioned last year and again this year how much she enjoys the movie Halloween, watches it every Halloween. And I said, that's a good one. It's called Halloween. Yeah, no brainer. And I had assumed that I had seen it. I told you guys I watched it. I thought it'd be a rewatch, but that was the first time I had seen the original Halloween, 1978, John Carpenter. It stands out to me because it seems to be the godfather of that slasher genre. You think about movies like Psycho. You have Psycho and some other things, but this is the first one with like the homicidal killer. He's a maniac. He's faceless. So later you get, Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, and other ones. He's detached from reality. He's just pure evil. We'll get into the movie there, but like he's described at one point, the doctor in the opening scene just says it, and the nurse says it has a name. Well, not really. It is just pure evil. And so iconic, the William Shatner mask.
Yep.
So I'll tell you, that's why I said the mask is William Shatner. And the music, Halloween music, we said. So that's why I thought it'd be a good pick to start out with, like a good horror movie. So as we discuss this, if you want to talk, we're going to talk about Halloween, but if you want to talk about horror movies at all in general, however this works out, but that was my reason.
Okay, cool.
Something on that, getting back to the godfather of these type of films, and our audience doesn't know this yet, but I think you two kind of, I did tell you two, I hate jump scares.
Oh, you do?
I do. So when you told me it was this film, I had to go to Google, and I had to look up where the jump scares are in the movie.
Oh, you're ruining it.
Well, see, I didn't, but I just looked up timestamps. I didn't look up what it is. But
so you're clenching your butt when that timestamp comes.
But it's funny to me, a jump scare from the 1960s? 78. Not the same as a jump scare according to modern horror standards.
No.
Not at all.
I didn't even get jump scares.
Well, there's a couple jump scares. Like he shifts into focus in the camera, and then there's the John Carpenter, like the keys, and that's it. Whereas now you might have it all in your face and the monster screaming.
And the hand crashing through the window.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah. But it wasn't like a nun, with the nun movie, like showing up
in your face.
Yeah, it was like, I was kind of startled by that.
Well, Brandon, to be honest, it sounds to me like the jump scares in older films might actually be a little more subtle. Because one of the things I really like about the movie, before we tag back to Brad, is I love the atmosphere. I think that's one of the things that I look for in a film that can really engross me. And John Carpenter, I think, is really excellent with that, just with his music, his score, because it's so simple, but he does so much with just a couple keys. And I mean, the theme from Halloween alone is iconic. And, they kind of slow it down and they amp it up when the tension builds. And, it's just, I think that the use of music is key to his films. And Halloween is, I think, one of the greatest displays of that. But before we get into why I like it and my thoughts on the film, Brad, we're going to circle back to you. Give us your review, pros, cons. Take it where your mind takes you, because this is Movie Minds.
Okay, Movie Minds. That's right. Halloween. So, like you said, let's start with the subtlety. I appreciate that, the subtlety of the movie, and it wasn't heavy-handed. Like nowadays, I don't like most horror movies that come out nowadays.
Same.
Some of those, we talked about other ones I thought were very well made. Cinematography is good. It was either too brutal, too disgusting, too over the top. Like I feel like I've been like assaulted, or I'm emotionally or PTSD when I'm done with that.
Yeah,
it's a little too much. To compare it to something else, like this might sound weird comparing Halloween to wine, but when you make wine, like if you have a good vintage, if you have good grapes, like you don't want to do too much with that. You don't want to put it in too much oak. You don't want to add sugar to it. Like when you have a good story, it's an American scary story with a teenage girl and a psychopathic killer
Mhm.
And by the way, that was the year after Talking Heads Psycho Killer in 1977.
Mhm.
That came out. I thought that'd be a cool song
Hmm.
to attach to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so you don't got to do a lot. He's got the mask. It's subtle, like you said. The use of music,
Mhm.
like, really was well done.
Amplifies it.
Yeah, it's just that alone. The soundtrack was really well done. So you want to just go into what I think about the movie overall?
Yeah, go
Great.
until it's time to pass
And
the feature.
I'll and then we'll hand off a couple of things. I liked it. Again, this was my first time watching it, so
Okay.
I've seen other Halloweens that I didn't care for in the franchise, if you will. This was good. This was pretty good, and some things stand out to me. So I think with Halloween, with then later, what was it? 2 years later, I think you have Friday the 13th,
Mhm.
something like, I think it's
1980, I
2
think that's
years
right.
later.
Yep.
With those kind of movies, one thing that always struck me was the morality of the horror genre during that time period. So, and it played through because I kind of picked up on it. If you're a good person, you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to survive. If you're fornicating, if you're doing drugs, if you're a jagoff, you're done. So Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, they become like instantiations of the natural moral law.
Ooh.
Yeah. So on that morality note, that's kind of why with any horror film, there's two things. I'm a goofy guy, that, and there's two things like I always look for, especially with horror films. Maybe just because I always look for the bright side of things. But one, what's the humor in the movie? But two, what are the good aspects? And there's an argument to be made with a lot of these horror guys that they're only doing those things to what they think is the people that deserve it. You know what I mean? If you want to talk about the morality, like obviously the sneaking out when she's supposed to be babysitting, the lustfulness before marriage, things like that. So it's a very interesting point. Very interesting point.
Because there's a little bit of nudity in the movie,
A small amount,
just a tiny bit, but like you get that very classic mix of Eros and Thanatos, like death and sex, lust, not just sexuality. It's lust.
Mhm.
And so even at the beginning, like I thought the beginning was very creepy. You see it from little Michael Myers' point of view. He's going through the house.
Yep.
He's got the clown mask. And then, his sister is in a room. And then it's very, like that scene and other scenes, it's also sexually charged, the killing. So I don't know how much, I don't know what the symbolism of that is, but it's, So anyway, yeah, the opening scene, and then I thought that was well done. Then he comes out, his parents come up, and then you see, I don't know in the other ones. I haven't seen all the Halloweens. Do you ever see Michael Myers' face after that?
Sorry, go ahead.
I believe you do. I'm not an expert on every single one of the sequels, but I'm pretty sure you might see him briefly at certain points. Brandon, you going to correct me, or are you over to the question?
Well, you see him in this one because
and in this film you do, yeah,
very at the very end. Yep.
Which
for one, it's like 1 second because I had to,
Yep.
When she's Jamie Lee Curtis is defending herself, right? Sorry, go ahead.
No. I think that's a good point, and I wonder if that does that almost take away from the force of nature that Michael Myers seems to be, because I'm glad they still downplay it, because this is so early in the franchise, because clearly they didn't know what they had. John Carpenter, I believe, was kind of working with a low budget, said I'll make a functional, pragmatic movie to make profit and sell some tickets, but clearly hit on some really great, powerful things here, because obviously the idea of Michael Myers stuck with people. And it's interesting because one thing I like about this movie is because it's trying to be its own self-contained thing, there is the element of the supernatural, which they play more with pretty much immediately after this movie, but they also still try to keep him very human at the same time. So you can have him be this psychopathic killer, which is one reason why it probably resonated a lot with people, because clearly the masked killer, serial killer on the loose is something that is, a grounded concept of fear that we all have. But they also play a little bit with the supernatural, like Dr. Loomis says, "Ooh, I looked at that child. I spent years trying to help him. I think it's 8 years trying to treat him, and then 7 years trying to keep him locked up. And I looked in his eyes, and it was just pure evil." So that's just such a powerful idea that if this person was human as a child, we see that murder that you mentioned early on. So there's something psychologically wrong, or is it some sort of evil manifestation, or at the same time, sort of a correcting of moral corrections. There could be multiple things going on there, but I like that they play along with the idea of the human aspect of it. Can we kill him? Can we take him out? But he almost becomes more than that because he's a personification of evil, and I think he's probably more so that than a lot of the other slashers that follow are. I think Michael Myers really embodies that, despite the William Shatner mask.
Getting back to the eyes, and Brad, you would be our expert in this because I've talked to a lot of my fellow Catholic friends about this, even religious friends in general, especially when it comes to being possessed. They say you can really tell in the eyes. Is that a false statement, or do you think the eyes are a good way of indicating someone's soul?
What's the saying? The eyes are the
window to the soul.
The window to the soul. So, and it's funny with that mask on, you see his eyes. I mean,
yeah.
And in the beginning, with that point of view, from his point of view, it's like you're looking through his eyes. Is he 6 or 9 at the beginning? What is he?
I think he's 6. He's pretty young.
He's very young.
Yeah.
And there's no. I almost if I were writing that story, I would kill it with too much backstory. Like he just exists. And then you don't know what's going on. Like, why is he this way? Was there any warning signs?
But that's really the great stinks about the movie. And I think another one is kind of like Jaws. Sometimes it's the fact that we don't know that much that makes it so much scarier. Mm-hmm. So I think that worked for the film's benefit.
Yeah.
Getting back, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Getting back to the music piece and something, yes, something you said earlier today when we were talking about the budget. And I made a note of this while I was watching it. Did he have to pay anything to Blue Oyster Cult for "Don't Fear the Reaper"? Let's talk about the symbolism of that song in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's pretty clear. Literally running from death. These young kids saying "Don't fear the Reaper." Death is everywhere. Absolutely.
Popular
and Michael
song
Myers
at the time.
Is the Reaper. And very much of the time. I think it came out like a year or two before.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually didn't notice that, and I've seen the movie a couple times. I didn't notice that until watching it this time. Like, it's Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah. I like how Michael Myers is just cruising around in daylight in his whip.
He's
just going, and the doctor doesn't see him that one time. I'm like, he's right behind you when he came up.
It's funny you brought that up, and that's just one of those little corny aspects of these older movies. I was watching with my fiance, which is funny. I mean, sorry, my new wife. I was watching with my wife, and she doesn't really like scary movies. But I was like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So it's one of the things she kept commenting on is like, does nobody just look and like see this creepy giant with the weird mask hang out in schools and in the neighborhood? Like no one's bothered by that. I'm like, I don't know, different times, 70s, whatever. It's movie's got a movie.
Yeah. I like when the girls are walking and she yells something at him.
Antagonize him.
And he slams on the brakes.
He's like, well, can't take a joke. Yeah. Like, and I'm thinking, no, he can't.
Michael Myers. Yeah.
To our listeners, though, a big shout out to our friend Joe for just getting married.
Oh yeah,
I know everybody else.
For a second, you said big shout out, like our friend Joe. Do I know this guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, I recently did get married.
In-person shout out.
Oh yeah,
congratulations! Now we're all married.
We are. Now my wife did not join me for the film. She was not having it. No. It was a straight beeline to the couch. Okay. You have fun with this, and I said, well, there is going to be movies that.
Might not be as scary?
Yeah, and she's like, well, that's great, but you're on your own for this one.
It's funny, starting at Halloween, people were asking, so is this going to be a horror movie podcast? I'm like, not exclusively, but people just automatically go to that. There won't be other things.
Yeah, my wife was watching it, and the blanket came up further and further. And then at one point, it was just her eye.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Like Michael Myers when he's doing the ghost. Let's take a second, and I want us to analyze here. How did we feel about his cosplay Halloween costume as the classic ghost? Did we like that? How do we think Michael did with that?
I actually made a note of that.
Of course you did.
The ghost. What part of the? Yes, at the end. I thought that was hilarious. Oh my gosh!
Michael Myers has a sense of humor, does he not?
That was hilarious. Yeah, just the glasses. Yes. Yeah. I cracked up at that part, man. His sense of humor.
No, that was pretty good. It was kind of creepy.
It's
creepy.
Well, it's creepy because, once again, subtlety, right? Because it's just the breathing. And she keeps asking questions because she thinks it's the boyfriend who's just been murdered. By the way, Michael Myers likes to strangle people a lot and just pin them up. So that seems to be his
very strong.
Very strong. Which, has he been working out in prison or is it supernatural again? I don't know.
Got that like sling blade strength. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Add that one to the list.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Add that one to the list.
Okay.
Let's
Billy
put
Bob.
it down.
That's a great. That's a great movie.
There you go. But yeah, once again, subtlety. Just kind of breathing, and really just the silence kind of makes it creepy. Absolutely.
I also like how, and here's something else with the car. How did he know how to get back to his hometown from that hospital?
There are questions. I was surprised he knew how to drive.
Well, doesn't someone mention that? Like he doesn't know how to drive. Didn't someone say that?
The doctor.
And someone's like, someone's been teaching him.
Yeah.
Like giving him lessons. I guess.
Yeah.
Someone's been teaching him.
He's out back.
Just
Parallel parking.
Well, maybe that's one of the things they do to integrate people. For the reforming.
Maybe they shouldn't.
Maybe they just shouldn't. But yes, somebody in the prison or the psych ward was teaching Michael Myers how to drive, and they thought that would be his gateway to redemption. And Michael Myers is a pretty good driver, based speeding laws.
Mhm.
I don't know. He's that's one of those little questionable things. Like what?
Did you notice something else too? And I forget the exact timestamp. I really should have wrote timestamps on this.
Timestamp guy. I like this. Take the timestamp guy. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, with the jump scares and at exactly 1940. No, I'm joking. But I noticed it's just things I pick up on, and I think you were out when I said this. But in college, every time we would watch a horror movie, I would always be that guy laughing when everybody else would be like either scared to death. How about the doctor parking in the handicap spot? Not that that's funny, but it's just like, why? He's not handicapped. Why is he parking there?
First of all right, I'm going to posit
a
question and then an observation. When you laugh watching horror movies, is it because they don't scare you, you find the music, or is it nervous laughter?
It's nervous.
It might be a little bit of both. I just find it, and I'm a professional troll at this point. Like I'm
picking that up right now.
Humor and like just messing with people. And I think it was The Conjuring we might have been watching in college.
That's a good one.
Is that the one in New England?
Yes.
Yeah, and with the doll Rory. I don't know, like the haunted doll. Am I thinking of the right movie?
Is it Annabelle?
Yeah. There's a doll in the beginning of The Conjuring, and then she gets a spinoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy doll.
I don't don't know why I found it so funny.
Some people did.
Yeah, it's like I just find humor in that stuff.
Well, some people find humor in different things, and that's fine. Observation though, Dr. Loomis, I don't think is that great of a person either. He's not a very good psychiatrist because literally his statement about I just gave up treating him and said he's pure evil.
Yeah.
It works thematically, but you're just thinking he's kind of terrible. He's got his gun out. He's got
packing heat.
He packed heat.
He's waiting for
he draws it out before the cop does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, like the guy might be a little unhinged because Michael Myers has affected him, I guess.
Was he gonna? Were they were going there to pick him up?
Yes.
Was he gonna kill him?
Good question.
Ooh.
Like he's reckless. Like you see those patients walking around. That's a little scary scene. Like it looks like Night of the Living Dead. They're out in the dark and they're like, he just comes out, leaves the nurse in the car.
And you're right. He really makes a comment. Security's pretty lax here. Whatever.
We just got these people walking around
at night.
Loomis. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like he's got the piece out. He's waiting there by the bushes to bust the cap, and Michael Myers.
He's ready.
Yeah,
he knows. He's seen the movie before.
You know what else? To switch gears a little bit. One thing I remembered because this is 1978. So you got the sense of it's constant impending doom, but also ever-present danger. One of the things I like about the older movies like that is nowadays, if you made Halloween and they make newer movies, like if you're in trouble, you just pull out your cell phone and call it.
Oh yeah.
They had to go. Remember, she's in her room on the phone. Like the world was a lot less safe, but it was better for that. Like everything's less safe. You can't just call somebody on your cell phone. There's not this ever-present contact. If you're not in your house and you're running around outside,
there's more danger.
And it's dark, there's no cameras, there's no phones, it's dangerous.
Absolutely.
You see that the world is a little darker too then. Like you see him coming across the street there toward the end. He's coming from house to house.
Unfortunately.
Everybody's got Ring doorbells now. They would be able to see
cutting the phone line.
I was thinking as you were saying that one of the advantages is less technology but closer community. And I guess maybe it was because Halloween, but remember Laurie Strode just go out and just let me in. And they just close the window. I thought that was kind of funny.
Not in Haddonfield after 10, you forget about it. Is that Haddonfield, right?
Yeah, Haddonfield, Illinois.
Yeah, forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the hospital's in Smith's Grove.
There you go.
Oh, look
Can we
at
get a
that.
timestamp?
Timestamp for the
Grove.
So
pan to establishing shot of.
huge shout out to our listeners in Illinois, by the way.
Yes.
The American Midwest. I mean,
Is Haddonfield in like southern Illinois?
is it
Because I
real?
noticed
looked it up.
the leaves were not really changing at that time of year.
This is proof that we still need to do research to be better prepared for next time. I believe it's a fictional town,
That's what I'm saying.
and I believe it was filmed in California, as many movies are,
Yeah,
because that's where John Carpenter is based out of. So I don't think they went to Illinois to do that.
it looked like it. Yeah.
But yeah,
It's actually Haddonfield, Illinois.
Is it real?
Halloween series is Haddonfield based on a real place. The inspiration for the film's Haddonfield was his childhood hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Mhm.
So there you go. Not a real place,
but
but
inspired.
inspired. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
by a southern place.
What was it? Smith's Grove?
That sounds like they make ham.
It
The
does.
ham
Smith
hock.
Grove's pork products. Sounds good. I gotta eat.
Crazy guys driving.
Smith's Grove is a fictional Illinois state hospital.
These are the points here, people.
Facility named after the real-life town of Smith's Grove in Warren County, Kentucky. So really, we should be giving a shout-out to our Kentucky listeners.
Absolutely, yes. All the listeners in Kentucky, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to keep track of the time here. Brad, any more final thoughts before I guess I move into my feelings, and you can give your review. I believe your rating, we're going to do, I think, 5 minds at the moment.
So we'll wait for the rating till the end.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, do you want to wait till the end, or do you want to do after everyone's take?
I think after everyone's take might be good. Maybe that allows us to change our rating once everyone said their piece. Perhaps.
And then we do like a final?
And then we'll do a consensus of like, I guess, whatever the average will be. And that'll be like the official movie minds. Boom.
To our listeners, there really wasn't we were so excited for this
Yes.
that I think I like that idea. And if anybody, like, as we grow, thinks
Listeners.
it's stupid.
Yeah, suggestions for how you'd like us to do things, please do. Let us know. But I think that sounds good, and we can adjust things because this is just, this is the baby right now. This is
that's
the origin.
it. Yeah. No, I mean those are my opening thoughts. Again, I'm not going to give the rating yet. I'll give you my minds at the end.
Okay.
But I like it. I liked it. I like the subtle. Like I said, I like the subtlety of it. It's not perfect, but it was lower budget, and it's kind of paving the way for a lot of other things. And I think it does it better than some of the offerings in a similar genre that came later. The music is really good. The use of lighting. I that one scene toward the end, what's it, Laurie Strode, when in the house there, it's very dark. Like it's
the whole movie's dark.
It's dark.
Really dark.
Like,
That's a good point.
and it looks like it would, like if you're in your house and you just don't have the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fake dark. You know what I mean?
Probably to save money.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But it worked.
Hey, that's wrong with it. Yeah. I remember the one scene, she's looking down, it's dark. There's a little bit of light on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being younger, walking downstairs in the dark sometimes. It's a little creepy in your house at night.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would had this up 2 flights of stairs. So on the first landing, there's a mirror there.
Uh-huh.
I don't like mirrors in the dark. I don't know why you would put that there.
Huh.
So I'm waiting for something to appear. That's neither here nor there with Halloween. But I'll stop it there on that if you move to yours, and then we'll come back around for the rating.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, I guess I'll take it on. I think of the 3 of us, I've seen this movie the most because I guess I'm something
More than once.
More than once, yeah. I can't even. I don't even know how many times I've seen Halloween because I have the thing where if I've seen a movie, I watch it over and over again over the years. So yeah, I don't know. I've probably seen this movie a dozen times over the years. Although this was the first time I think in the last couple of years I saw it. Watched this movie probably a little too young originally, but it had an effect on me. I think that as a film in general, it's kind of like everything you said, Brett. I think it establishes some really good templates for a lot of slasher movies to come. And it's interesting because Friday the 13th is really kind of the one that sort of set the formula that everything is parodying. But Halloween's really the one that set the formula to begin with. And it was also pretty well done and successful. And I love how it's also very bare bones and it takes itself pretty seriously. And I emphasized this before, but when it comes to horror movies, I mean, John Carpenter, this isn't my favorite film of his, but it's one of them. And it's about atmosphere. Like you said, with the lighting, it really builds that tension. The music is fantastic. And I love when people can turn a potential weakness into a strength. And Carpenter's really skilled with that. Just literally the fact that he couldn't, I believe, hire someone to do the score for him. He got a little synthesizer and scored it himself. And maybe wasn't an expert with music, but found the right notes to hit that element of tension. And that sells a lot of the movie. But I think it's also the fact that it's fairly simple. You've got characters that you like. And watching it with my wife, I'd actually pointed out that a lot of times in slasher movies that have come afterwards, one of the big problems is they have characters you don't like. They're annoying, they're unlikable, they're extremely immoral, they're bullies, and a lot of times it is teenagers or college people. But really, whenever you're creating any type of story, you want to care about the people you're watching. You want them to survive. Even if most of them will be killed, you want to be invested. You want to connect with them. And I think that this movie actually does pretty well. Like, even though some of the kids are a bit annoying, they do have likable qualities, which I think in more recent movies, there's a lot less of that. So I appreciate that. I think Laurie Strode is just a really great character. I think a strong female character is good. I think Jamie Lee Curtis really just, as such a young actress, did a great job. I think being, I don't know, kind of just, I don't like a good centerpiece for the movie, and really a great contradiction, because she goes up against this basically force of nature and somehow manages to survive, even though I think part of it's luck, because the guy's, murdering people left and right, and, he just kind of slashes her shoulder, she gets the little cut, and that's fine. So maybe a little bit of it's luck, but yeah, I think that she's pretty good. I think there is some unintentional humor with the movie. I will say that I don't think it holds up quite as well as when I watched it before. Like, I think I used to put this movie on such a huge pedestal. I think that there are certainly horror movies that I like more. I think there are slasher movies I actually like more than this. But I appreciate how simple this is for such a modest budget. And I think it's a great testament to just what a really good filmmaker John Carpenter is. And I met John Carpenter before. He's really cool. I met him at a convention and got him to sign my little thing for the Philly Comic-Con years ago. But I love this guy. I love John Carpenter. I just think he's a fantastic director, and really every aspect of filmmaking, he's someone to emulate. So, yeah, Michael Myers is iconic. Not my favorite slasher villain, but once again, like we said, simplicity and so much you can do with it. And I like playing with, there's the human aspect of it, but is he a force of nature? So there's a lot of really great things about the movie that I think work together well. I think it's a great formula. And a little corny just in some aspects, doesn't hold up quite as well, but it's still a legend. It's still a great film. That's my piece, Brent. So yeah, I know you didn't like it as much. So tell us why we're wrong. Tell us what we missed.
So I don't want to say wrong. And that's why, I love that we're doing this, because we all have, I think, different perspectives for sure. And one for me is I'm definitely a comedy and historian guy. So I don't get, and I love Marvel movies, as you know, but I don't get like really into these slasher films. I think where I first started watching horror movies was, and shout out to my friend Tyler, in college, and then a little past college. And he loves this movie. Oh. And I've never understood what the infatuation was with some of these slasher films. Because after a while, I think all of them are kind of the same premise.
Sure.
With this one, though, I've changed my feeling a little bit.
Template. Keyword is template.
Yeah. Mostly because after hearing Brad's perspective and your perspective and just talking to you guys over the past couple weeks.
Do you want to call the show Perspectives?
It's a show of different perspectives. Perspective point of view. We're still working title, people.
It's a show about nothing.
I know. Just it's like whatever.
Anyway, I have grown to appreciate it since talking to both of you over the past couple of days. However, I was not a fan, and mostly because probably of the low budget. I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, and I think I'm probably 10 years younger than Brad. So I was kind of spoiled in the fact that I did grow up with these more like
flashy,
advanced, flashy, higher budget horror films. So someone who doesn't really like horror films, someone who doesn't really know a lot about horror films, I was coming into watching it of putting it on that pedestal of all horror films. So makes more sense now, of course. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan because, like I said, I think a lot of it was cliche. A lot of it was at the basic template, like we said. I did not think the acting was that good. I did. Now it was her first role, but I thought Jamie Lee Curtis. It was, I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of the film. But now that hearing both of your perspectives, I've appreciated a little bit more, knowing that we could make an argument that this is the godfather of horror films, more specifically slasher films. I understand why there's a huge following for it, but it just wasn't really my huge cup of tea. So a lot of the notes that I did write on here, like I told you guys, it was stuff that made me laugh. It was humorous things, and I did make a note of the opening music. I loved that. I thought, I mean, that's an iconic piano, a little riff there. The Don't Fear the Reaper was awesome, very symbolic. I love when movies use music to symbolize things. Thought that was great. For somebody that does not like jump scares, it was a perfect film, and I think I'm going to tell my wife that. Right? There's not a lot of huge scary
it's not
stuff.
That scary, really.
But yeah, something else that made me laugh was when Tommy kept saying to Lori about the boogeyman being outside, and then who was the little girl? What was her name?
Little girl. Yes, the one that she's babysitting. That the other one was inviting. I forgot. Is it Laurie or Shirley? Shirley or something? They might be Shirley.
Well,
check us on that one, people. I don't remember.
What really made me laugh was when she's like, "I believe you, Tommy." Like, I don't know. I just thought that was really funny.
And I think that was actually adorable because, somebody is on his side because, once again, the innocent kid actually has some perceptions about what's going on and everybody ignores it.
It was Lindsay. Sorry to take it away.
Can I get a timestamp on it?
I don't have the timestamp, but the reason I know that is because Bob made a comment about taking Lindsay's clothes off. So now I'm like, what are we? Did you catch that?
Oh, you know
He's
what?
Like,
actually,
go ahead.
Yes, yes. My wife pointed that out, and she was like, "Was that?" I was like, "I think it's because they were drinking and he misspoke. I'm pretty sure that's what happened."
Or was it an actor mistake?
Or maybe it was, and they kept it in the script. I think it was supposed to be they were drinking and not really focusing, and he was like, because you doesn't mind that you're babysitting because we can do whatever. So I think he just wasn't thinking because he's focused on other things. Unless maybe it was an actor blurb that they kept in to make it seem more realistic. I don't know. See, this is why we've got to do better research behind the scenes. But that's a good. I did notice that. Yes. Did you get the timestamp for that one?
I can go back and get the timestamp. People, if you want me to get the timestamps on these things, I will gladly do so.
That'd be timestamp, man. I really am.
Okay, I'm cool
like
with
this.
that. I like the statistics. I like the business pieces. I like the math. Yeah.
And as an English teacher, I like you being able to cite your evidence. Okay, in the scene it says here timestamp from there for the film. That's good. That's good.
All right, cool. I have a role, people. I'm so happy.
Official timestamp. Record keeper.
Something, and a lot of these you guys already pointed out. The last thing I wrote, there's two things that I wanted to, well, three things I wanted to address before. Okay. One, did you notice that before someone got killed, and I think it was before everybody, a door opened? There was always like an opening door or something like. Did you notice that?
Well,
like in the garage there.
Yes, and I think that's supposed to be implying that Michael Myers might be opening things to mess with people.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to when people die and Laurie's discovering the bodies all in a row and they're opening at convenient times. Friday the 13th, not to go off topic, does that so terribly. That's hilarious. I don't know if have either of you seen that?
Yes.
Remember how at the end when she's discovering all the dead bodies in the cabin, literally everywhere she turns left, right, there's just bodies falling out of trees. Like, it's ridiculous. that they overdid it in that one. So they had to up the ante, I guess. But yeah, I think there's a couple moments where didn't you like the cinematography where like a lot of times they'd frame the doctor or somebody in the foreground and Michael Myers is in the back, slightly blurred away. They pan over, pan back. Mm-hmm. He's not there. I love it. They just
like that. Out,
autofocus. Very basic technique, I think, but it's utilized so effectively. But I love that too. That's kind of similar to what he would do in those scenes. Like, somebody opened the door, it's closed again, or the subtle thing where. Once again, the subtlety where her one friend has the car unlocked, goes back for the keys, but forgets she has the keys and opens the door and doesn't realize that it's unlocked because that's a subtle thing. She didn't realize it. And then she sees the fog in the window, like, wait a minute. it's coming together, and then it's too late. Jump scare. So there's just the tiny attention to detail that I think sells the movie despite its simplicity. So anyway, sorry I went off on a tangent, but I hope that answers your question.
It does, and that's what I like. I kind of like being the assist guy, Steve Nash, so to speak. I like kind of tossing it up there, and then you two give a slam dunk.
Oh, an alley-oop for the
Well, it could be an alley-oop. It could just be a simple pass and 3-point,
fundamentals, the bounce pass.
Yeah.
These sports references. Just go past my head.
Listen, I am not too proud to admit that.
Ball.
Sorry. Like the door opening, that reminds me, I'm going to cut you off and come back to that. But like one thing I was talking to my wife about with these movies, I think with the use of music, and he's like opening doors and shutting the whole thing. I said I don't care for more modern horror movies as much because I would compare it to riding a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Okay. Part of the fun is you're waiting in line for it, but you get in line, you're strapped in. It's the build up. You're going up the hill, and then you do hit the hill. But imagine a roller coaster that's just it's too much.
You know what? I'm going to piggyback off your statement there because I'm just a lot of the classic horror movies, I think from the 70s, 80s. John Carpenter is great at this as well. I like what you said, and you're bringing up things that my wife said too. So thank her for some other ideas as well. I think she's helping me. The slow buildup, atmosphere, right? So much of the movie is tension, the buildup of the tension. We know the killer's there. What is he doing? He's stalking the kids, maybe because they remind him of himself, or, this reminds him of his sister. What's going to happen? There's so much buildup. Like in a modern horror movie or modern slasher, people get killed left and right. There's no buildup. There's no real strength behind it, okay? You're right. There's that lack of impact. But here, it's so much the movie's buildup, and not that much of a kill count, but the kills have impact when they happen because we've been waiting and we're worried, and then it finally comes and boom, slash.
Yeah. No, that's a good take. Anything else on the doors?
I guess that was one. I'll move on to your second point.
Sorry. The other two are not as like, I think,
metaphorical.
Yeah, that was like my deep thought one. The second one, and I'm just going to say it. Bob had it coming. I'm sorry, but that man, I was not a fan of Bob.
Was Bob? I'm so bad at it. Bob's glasses guy, right?
Yes, Bob was the glasses guy.
Oh man, okay. Why do you think Bob had it coming?
I just didn't think he was a nice guy. I really didn't, and maybe that's why I sympathize with Mr. Myers. Let
it be said, Mr. Myers, sympathetic protagonist of the film.
I just thought Bob was kind of a jerk, taking advantage of the girl, and
that was my initial thought too. I think upon my initial viewings of the movie. But once again, I think there were some subtle things that maybe indicated that he didn't quite have it coming. Remember how I mentioned this movie tries to make its characters a little more likable? I think that there was some exchanges between them that were a bit friendly. And I think that actually is more on part of the lady, the girl. What is her name? This character's name? The one who says totally all the time.
Oh, yeah. I did not write her name down.
Bob's girlfriend. There is some subtle exchanges there.
Sorry, go ahead.
I hope so. I don't know. It's two young people doing something. So I think there was some interplay there where he's like, he's like, oh, get me a beer. She's like, no, you get me a beer. And if he was really a jerk, he could have really been like, no, you get it for me. Or they could have played him up to be much more of a jerk, taking advantage of somebody. But he has some humor. He gets up. He does have. It shows that there is some chemistry and that they are a little more equal of a footing. That's something my wife actually pointed out. Because when I initially watched him before, I dismissed it as he's the jerk guy. Just he wants sex, nothing else, and then he's not interested. But no, I think with his performance, believe me, I've seen slasher movies where there are guys who are jerks. So just as comparison, I don't think Bob was too bad. Okay. Maybe he had it coming in terms that he's in a slasher movie and he shouldn't be breaking the rules of sleeping around and drinking beer, but I think he was okay.
Okay. Listen, I don't think the man deserved to die. But
I don't know. You said he had it coming. I mean, there's only one result of this.
Listen, I just went with it was. By the way, for our listeners at home, I actually watched this movie at midnight
on Halloween.
On Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. I'm not a time traveler. On Friday the 13th. And I didn't even understand, like I didn't care about the date. I think it was just fate that I happened to see this movie on a very scary night.
You should have watched Friday the 13th.
Should watch Friday the 13th on Halloween.
And then compare it.
It's on Halloween on
Well,
we could-
yeah,
we
compare
could do that.
You're lucky you didn't summon something up by doing that.
I know. And in a new house, and I gotta get.
You
I
got-
gotta
you
get
had it
priest
coming,
over.
Brandon.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Brandon had it coming.
Yeah, it's probably a bad use of words. I don't think the boy deserved to die, but I did think he was kind of a jerk. But I see your point.
He's just having a good time.
Yeah, subtlety again. I agree.
I know what you mean. I see some movies the guy's just over the top, like cut. That's the thing.
Like
Some of the later ones with like people in my family when I was growing up, they love Jason Voorhees like all the time. And then you're just watching it, you just like get them, and you're just waiting for Jason.
Yeah,
because
because you don't care. They're all jerks.
Get it, mow them down.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. They're more human.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know what else we could do? I mean, and then I'll get to my last point. But when I think of the, so to speak, Mount Rushmore of slashers, you got to go Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger.
Who's your fourth? Because it's Mount Rushmore.
Well, I think it's a toss up between the Scream Mask or Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, Leatherface.
Which one are you going with?
Though. He's like,
it's a parody of slasher movies.
Good,
I would say Leatherface or Hellraiser. I guess Pinhead could be one.
But I think Scream is more pop culture.
You know what? I don't know if we'll get to it this month because we started so late, but I do think Scream would be good again because Wes Craven, another guy I like, and Scream is also kind of a parody and a commentary
like an homage
on slasher movies.
To slasher movies.
So I think
and it's really good.
Oh yeah,
it's done well.
Yeah,
I like Scream.
Yeah.
And then that Scream Mask. I mean, you don't even have to know anything about the movie, and you know what that is. Like, you know what I mean? It's been done so many times at Halloween parties, and I feel like it's a very easy outfit to do. You're trick or treating, you always got somebody with a Scream mask.
In elementary school, I trick or treated as him 3 Halloweens in a row.
Nice.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. It was just an easy one to get.
Yeah.
Very easy. Just it's kind of like the ghost in the bed sheet, right?
That would be a good costume. You're a bedsheet ghost, but then you're Michael Myers.
Like you think it's just a ghost. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, it's actually Michael Myers underneath. It's double layers of fear.
And then I guess I have a short story real quick, and I want your guys' view on it. But
critique it for grammar. Okay, syntax.
Well, it's just funny because back in my post-college hijinks, my friends and I we drove.
It's 1953.
we drove around. We drove around
killing people
in a Michael Myers mask. I did the whole
I'd
like
shoot you right now.
Whoa.
So that was the only time I've really had a Michael Myers mask on.
You all had Michael Myers?
No, just the person in the passenger seat. So we would like switch it up. And anyway, many moons ago, I'm kind of mature now. I have a wife. I'm getting a dog soon.
Debatable.
The last thing I wanted to mention, and it's kind of just, it's something I think to be assumed based on the time of the movie and the budget.
Never assume, Mr. Garth.
True. All the stabbing sounded fake. I mean, it wasn't like...
that's sound effects. That they go... that's fine.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Well, Brad, what do you think?
Yeah.
Just something that I had written down.
Well, would you prefer... So for you, for future viewings, do you appreciate good sound design? Like you want that realistic slurching of going through organs like it really sells the killing for you?
I do. And I don't think it was... I didn't think it was as important to me until I saw this movie.
Well, I think I appreciate great sound design too. It's actually a kind of a passion of mine anyway. So I agree. I think you also have to remember when you're reviewing movies or any older piece of art, think about context. Because remember, if this was an old theater in the 70s, that probably worked for a bunch of people. We're not going to analyze it with high def Blu-rays. And so, keep that in mind. But you're right. It probably sounded fake, but I think that adds to the charm.
Yeah, it's also like operatic even. It's like theater. Like you want to hear it. if you're gonna kill a bunch of people, that's not the best weapon either. But it's like it's I don't know.
Also, I think sticking somebody in like with the knife up against the door and managing to hold them. I feel like that was. I don't even know if I think it almost extended its length once it went in. And became an effect. It was a normal kitchen knife, and
the physics of him pinning the guy
didn't really make any sense. So
it's like a samurai sword.
Basically, like it wanted to grow like 3 times, and it was just like I feel like he wouldn't hold him there. So
you know what else? Like Michael Myers' hair. It's pretty good.
The hair, what?
The hair. What? You like his hair? His hairdo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, like Jason, later on, he gets all bald.
I don't know if this is the costume or this is the character, but I couldn't really tell because it was so dark this time. Is that his hair or is that part of the mask? The really crazy
Is that the mask though? Yeah, it might be William Shatner's hair.
William Shatner kind of has more like the curly.
I thought it's his hair, and that's just
the front part.
The front part of the
But
mask.
I'm thinking maybe to hold it on the stunt guy. I feel like they almost had it like pulled over. Maybe.
Well, probably.
Like I feel like if you look at like a Halloween costume, it comes with the hair, right?
That's his real hair.
That's the actor's hair.
Well, now if you get it, it comes with the hair.
The iconic
because
hair.
The hair is so great.
So he's like that's become part of the character.
The Haddonfield hair,
because that was the Haddonfield hairdo.
The great clips that had.
Well, hold on. I mean, from looking at it, it looks like his hair, but Michael Myers' hair. That might be part of what hair to use for Michael Myers' mask. What color is Michael Myers' hair?
Tips, people, for your future Halloween trick or treating.
So I think parties. Better said was Michael Myers' hair
was Michael Myers' hair
of mask
the whole time.
Chad GPT.
It was hair the whole time. Oh, don't trust that as a source.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah,
I've been ready.
For Michael's mask, they repurposed a Star Trek mask modeled after William Shatner's Captain Kirk, which we knew. Yeah. Aside from painting it, the production team altered the mask's hair and widened the eye hole areas. So it was part of.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan, so I always love the trivia of the fact that they just used the William Shatner Captain Kirk mask and used it to make Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But I'm always looking at it. I've never seen the William Shatner personage at all. Like it doesn't look like it's similar at all to me. So I don't know if that was just a bad mask they got. I'm just like, that's the Captain Kirk mask. I mean, I just wonder what the actual mold looked like before they used it for the movie because it's unrecognizable to me. Yeah. Like if you didn't say that, I would have no idea.
This was the Star Trek thing you were telling about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's the Star Trek trivia. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
So there'll have to be a point where I have to make you guys watch a Star Trek movie, and I'll just talk like this the whole time.
Believe it or not, it's one franchise I never got into.
Well, if you're on the podcast along with me, you'll have to watch a few.
Okay.
What do you like better, the original or Next Generation?
We have to stay on topic.
Okay.
But short answer, my dad loved the original series. And I see, this is why I love the corny special effects. So I like the campiness of it. I think Next Gen's overall a better show, but there's something about the charm of the original series I do love. Actually, DS9 is my favorite show. But that's a topic for another discussion. Anyway, I know Brad wanted me to keep look at the time. We are down to like our final 10 minutes. So
ratings.
Any final thoughts before we do ratings? And then final thoughts about said ratings.
I thought it was. I think for deciding not that long ago to watch Halloween, and then Brandon and I saw it for the first time. I thought seen it before, but I didn't. I think it was a pretty good discussion. Like as we move forward and we figure out how we want to do this, and we can get into more the nooks and crannies of things. Look
at him reviewing the podcast. That wasn't even what I asked. Yeah. See, we're getting double reviews. I like it.
I was thinking how this would work, the dynamic. I think it's working pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah. I think it's nice. My chair not so hot because
I was gonna say one thing. We're actually recording in a class space, so I think the creaking of chairs will pick up, and that too. That's why we'll do it in carpet. Remember I was talking about carpets earlier?
Yeah. We need
my house next time. It'll be quieter.
Let's do that. So, are we gonna do out of minds 5?
I think for now, unless the listeners come up with a better idea, I think 5 minds, 5 suspended floating brains. Yes, out of 5 minds, Brad.
Out of 5 suspended brains, 5 minds, I'm going to give the original Halloween 1978 I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 brains.
Oh
4 out of
my
5 minds. That's 4 out of 5 for me. You heard it here.
All right, 4 out
Okay.
of 5 for Brad. I'll go next, Brandon. Okay, since
All right.
that's the way we're going now. Brief mini summary review. I agree. I think it is a template, and I think other movies built upon it to do it better. I don't think it held up quite as well because some of the corniness and the simplicity, I agree. But considering the budget and the time and the fact I love John Carpenter, the music, the lighting, the cinematography, and just Michael Myers as an iconic force starting a franchise, clearly it had something that had an impact. I really like the movie. It's a great horror movie classic. I definitely recommend people should watch it. I'm actually with Brad on this one. I also give it 4 out of 5 minds, or as I like to call it, floating suspended alien brains, or whatever this is. It's a funny image. But yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. Pretty darn good.
Okay. Well,
Half a mile.
if you would have asked me
On Friday.
on Friday after I watched it, probably would have given it 2. But since I was able to get my mind around the historical piece of it, the importance that it's had to cinema, the different takes. Now that I'm sitting here really thinking about it, I'm not going to say 4 because, I always think that you have to have that one outlier. Given the historical importance, the low budget, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
I'll take 3 minds.
3 out of 5.
Yeah.
That all day.
Yeah, that's pretty good for somebody that's not really like into the old slash horror stuff. We talked you into it a little bit. That's good.
Yeah, and that's a very, of course it's all opinion, but very opinionated.
Well,
3 out of 5.
well, yeah, everything is, but I think it's good, when we're reviewing stuff to try to be
Mhm.
objective and think of other perspectives when we're trying to aim for what we think is the best. But no, heck, if you had asked me like 10 years ago, I would just be like, oh man, it's amazing, like 5 minds. But no, it's
Yeah, that's something interesting to talk about later, like how your perspectives, how what you think about a movie changes. There's been movies where I hated it, and then it comes off, or movies I really like, gone back down, come around.
you
So
appreciate some things
Yeah.
More or less, and also sometimes viewing a movie or whatever can change over time. Well, you might like it, but for different reasons than you did when you were younger. So that might be a sign of a great film too.
I did make a mistake to our listeners. That was 3 minds, okay? Don't think it's 3 stars. I forgot to make clear that it was 3 minds, 3 alien brains, not 3 stars, not 3 stickers. 3 minds.
Yes, we have. That is our official rating as of right now. We're doing minds, 4 movie minds. And yeah, that's pretty much the first podcast review of Halloween. Any final thoughts, feelings, gentlemen, before we officially hit click off the stop recording?
Do we want to? So Brad picked the first one.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Do we want to announce what we're doing?
Yeah, might as well. I agree. Yes, we're going to do. At the moment, we're thinking once a month. Maybe we'll do a few more if we find the time. But since Brad picked Halloween first, Brandon gets the next pick for November, which is roughly Thanksgiving themed. So I just liked your idea. I said, yeah, we'll just do that.
Yeah. So can I say the backstory quick?
Save more of it for one you lead it next time. But
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't want to give away too much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing the Disney Pixar classic Toy Story for the month of November. Wholesome family movie. And I believe at the end, there's a reference to Christmas. So kind of like
segue.
This time of year getting close. So Toy Story, the Disney Pixar classic for next month.
Sounds good. It'll be harder as we get along past the holiday season to come up with themes based on the month. Like, this is the easy time.
Make sure you have Arbor Day.
Groundhog
Day. Yeah. Oh,
that's easy. Arbor Day. Arbor Day will do Troll 2 because there's plants.
Oh,
right?
Troll 2.
Okay. Anyway, nothing official yet. All right, everybody. Say goodbye. This was Joe.
It's Brad.
This is Brandon.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
It's Movie Minds, and it's out.